everybody, it's Chris Eads, otherwise known as Wootini, here with another weekly Gay Gamer video podcast. As you can see, I'm all dressed up because it is my 300th episode, which is insane. As I mentioned last week, the fact that anyone is still watching me sit on my couch and talk about video games for 10 minutes a week is kind of crazy to me. I actually looked to see when I did the very first one, and that was back when it was on gaygamer.net, so obviously there were a lot more viewers than there are now. And it was actually 6 years ago tomorrow that I did the pilot as a, hey, let's try this out and see if anybody will watch, because I couldn't do a regular podcast, so I did a video podcast, because I know how to do videos. So I edited together a little pilot, threw it up there, and everybody liked it, so they said keep doing them, so I kept doing them, and now here I am 6 years later, well, 5 years and 364 days later, and I am taping my 300th episode. It's been mostly weekly, actually. I've skipped a few weeks here and there when I've been on vacation or whatever. But yeah, I've kept it up. Go figure. Even as Gay Gamer has died away, I'm trying to keep the spirit of it alive here. I decided for my 300th episode to do what I did for, I think it was my 100th episode, where I answered viewer questions. Now, obviously back then, I had a lot more viewers, so there were a lot more questions, so it was a really long episode. But this one shouldn't be too long, don't worry, because there weren't that many questions. So, without further ado, let's get to it. First up, what game or games are you most excited for next year? I would have to say, obviously, top of my list is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Super psyched for this. So psyched, in fact, that I'm not watching all the trailers because I don't want to spoil too much. I want to just enjoy it. A little sad that it's apparently being delayed and it will not be out in March when the Switch launches. But that's fine, because it means I don't have to worry about getting in line to get a Switch at launch, because I can wait. Also, I am excited for Mass Effect Andromeda, because Mass Effect is amazing, and I'm hoping this continues the trend of awesome Mass Effect games, even though it's a slightly different kind of premise and gameplay. I'm hoping the core Mass Effect experience is still there, and I will still love it. I'm also excited for Horizon Zero Dawn on the PS4. I don't know why, just seen some trailers, they look cool. It sort of looks like a futuristic Tomb Raider. So I could be wrong, but it's going to be a while before we get the next Tomb Raider, so this will tide me over until then, I should think. Next, what's your very first / favorite gaming experience? Well, my very first gaming experience, and I'm dating myself here, was my father brought home like some kind of Magnavox Pong machine that he bought at a garage sale on the cheap. So that was my very first experience in having a video game in my home. Because there were arcades and stuff, but like, you know, my parents didn't take me to arcades, and there was nothing like within walking distance of my house or anything. So this was my first experience with being able to play a video game whenever I wanted. And it was just Pong, but still. My favorite gaming experience? I don't know. I don't really think... Like, there's so many things that I love that, you know what? I'm going to change the question. I'm going to answer the question with a slight variation, and say one of my most memorable experiences was when I was a kid, probably junior high, I suppose, because I was babysitting. I liked babysitting for this one family because they had an Atari 2600 in their basement. So I'd put the kids to bed, and then I'd play Atari until the parents came home. And one of my most striking experiences was playing E.T. the video game. I'm not kidding you. E.T. the video game. I think I've talked about this before in another episode way back when. But E.T. is not a good game. You basically move around the screens and you collect the pieces of E.T.'s gadget, and then you complete it and you phone home. The ship comes, takes E.T. home, the end. Now, the game does then start over again, and you have to do the whole thing again with slightly higher difficulty. But to me, that really struck me at the time because it was the first game I felt like I finished. Even though, like I said, you don't finish because it just starts over again at the beginning. But up till that point, games were all, you know, like Pac-Man and Space Invaders and whatever, where you have 3 or 4 lives, and you just try to get the highest score you can before you're done, and that's it. And there weren't, like, stories, and you never felt like, oh, I defeated the Space Invaders. You know, you never did. You can't. So, here, I was playing it, and I mean, it only takes 5 or 10 minutes, probably. And you're like, do, and then suddenly it's like, yay, E.T.'s been taken home. And I felt like, oh, I finished it. And in fact, I didn't play it again, because when I realized it just started over, I just turned it off. I was like, no, I'm good. But that just sort of struck me that, like, that was the first game that I ever finished. And nowadays, games have complex stories with voice acting and cinematic stuff and, you know, emotional resonance in the stories. But that was the first time where I felt like I finished a video game. And it was just this amazing sense of completion, even though it only took, like I said, 5 or 10 minutes, and it was just E.T., so whatever. What's the worst game you've ever played? See, this is the thing. Like, I thought about this one, and it's really hard, because I'll play a game, and, like, I tend not to play the really bad ones, because I get, like, if I'm going to spend $50 to $60 on a game, I'm going to research it, I'm going to look at trailers, I'm going to read reviews, I'm going to make sure that this is something I'm going to like if I'm going to spend my money on it. So, there have been some demos that I've played that I've been like, oh no, like, I don't like this at all. And in fact, I remember back in the day on the PS1, I think? No, maybe it was PS2. I don't know. They made a game about, it was called 13. And it was a first-person shooter, and I said, oh, this looks really good. And I put down like $5 at GameStop to reserve my copy. And when you reserved your copy of 13, you got a little demo disc. This is before the internet. They couldn't download demos. So I took home my little demo disc, very excited to play it. I'm like, oh, it's this cel-shaded, because it's based on a graphic novel series. I think it's Italian, a graphic novel series. They made like a TV series out of it and stuff. And I was all excited because it looked like really cool. It was a cel-shaded shooter. Say that 10 times fast. And I put in the demo disc, and I remember playing it and being like, oh my god, this is terrible, and I hate it. And I literally, the next time I was in GameStop, I was like, listen, I pre-ordered this game, but I don't want it. Can you shift my reserve to this game that I know I do want? Thank you. Because I just canceled my pre-order. I was like, no, I don't like this. But as for a game that I bought and really did not like, I think the worst game I ever bought and played, Kiliak the DNA Imperative for the PlayStation. I bought it because it was a shooter, and I liked those. I love Doom. And there weren't a lot of games at the PlayStation's launch, so I said, alright, let me give this one a shot. And it's terrible. It's absolutely horrible. It's just a clunky corridor shooter, and you're in like a mech suit, so your power keeps draining. So you're trying to explore, I think it's a space station, and fighting the enemies, but you keep losing power, so not only do you have to keep picking up ammo to stay replenished, but you have to find outlets to plug yourself in and recharge your suit's power so that you can keep going. Otherwise, you'll go down the wrong corridor, and without charging, you'll be too far away from an outlet, and then you will just get stuck. And it just was not fun. The graphics were not great, and yeah, that's probably the worst game I think I've ever played. Like, it was painful. Everything else I can kind of find, like, some redeeming quality to, but that one was just... I regretted that purchase, like, tremendously. Next, what's been your biggest OMG I love video games moment in your gaming lifetime? Okay. There's two, but they're related. The first one was the first time I played Doom. Just for suddenly to be, everything till that point had been, you know, side-scrollers or top-down perspective or even isometric or whatever. But Doom was the first time I felt like I was in the video game. And I'm looking around, and it just, that was the first-person perspective game I ever played. And that blew my mind, because suddenly I was in the game. I mean, now we have VR and stuff, so whatever. But at the time, Doom was like, holy crap, I'm in the game. And it just gave you that sensation that I was just, oh my god, this is incredible and amazing. And then, to follow up, when I played Morrowind, the Elder Scrolls adventure Morrowind, that was the first time, sitting there with my Xbox, like, not only is it a first-person game, because by that point there had been tons of first-person games, so that became old hat, but that was the first time where it was a first-person game, and you literally, you're trapped in a cell, you escape the dungeon, and when you break out of that castle, suddenly there's this world to explore, and I'm like, where do I go? And so suddenly, not only was it an immersive first-person perspective, but you had this world and you could literally, like, I want to go over there. I want to go over there. And to just suddenly have this, like, open world to explore blew my mind again. So those are probably my biggest OMG moments, having my mind blown. How much do you think the industry would have to change for us to see more LGBT protagonists in AAA games? I'm not sure that it's the industry that needs changing as much as society needs changing. Because if you think about it, we don't have LGBT protagonists in film or television right now. At best, they're supporting characters. If they exist at all, they're supporting characters. Television's a little bit better. Sometimes there are LGBT characters who are part of an ensemble cast, but, you know, more often than not, they're like the best friend, the supporting cast, whatever. Film, they're always the best friend. Like, there are some indie films with gay protagonists, but they're not AAA, basically. So I feel like, because video games kind of follow that same progression, I feel like society has to change more so that we can get the LGBT characters to move from comic relief supporting characters or whatever to being the main character. And if they were going to do it, I feel like it would be the kind of thing where, like, at the very end of the game, they would, like, subtly hint, this character's been gay all along. Shh! Because I avoid message boards and stuff because the comments and everything, whenever there is an LGBT character in a game, people get all annoyed. And even when they're just like a supporting AI character, not even like a player control character, they're just there, and it's like, when you have a character like in Dragon Age, you could be gay. So technically, that's, the lead character is a gay character, if you choose to play it that way. And people flip out. They're like, why do you make this, this isn't necessary, why do you do this? And it's like so frustrating. So society needs to change so that people aren't so bent out of shape because someone is queer. Then I think you might see more characters in games that are queer. But clearly, as this year's election has proven, we have a lot further to go than we thought. We thought we were making progress. We were not. Have you considered trying to write for another site now with Gay Gamer being defunct? Yes, I have. I miss Gay Gamer. I kept it going as long as I could, but when technical issues basically took the site off the internet, there was nothing I could do about it because I am not a computer nerd, so I don't know how to fix these things. So I have thought about it. I just haven't actually done it yet. Some friends of mine have tried to ask me to write for their site, and I think I probably will. It might end up being like a New Year's resolution kind of thing, just to do it, just to get back into it. Because it's not like my job, you know? My job is to write on the internet for something else. This was always just for fun, because I like video games, and I liked having Gay Gamer around because it was awesome. And I wanted to, you know, keep that community going. But I kind of miss that community, so I'd like to try to find another one. And that leads into the next question, which is, are there any other sites similar to Gay Gamer that you would recommend? And the site that I'm thinking about writing for is geeksout.org. Geeks Out is an organization based in New York that has held events in like Chicago and stuff. I know they've done, you know, stuff outside New York. They're responsible for FlameCon, and they do all kinds of great events and fundraising. And they have a website that they have blogs, and people write about film and television and comic books from an LGBT perspective, and they would like to do more with video games, so I'm thinking I will maybe try writing for them. But I recommend checking them out. They're a great organization, and they cover everything. It's not just Gay Gamer. It's not just gay games. So, you know, you can read about film and television and comic books if you're into those sorts of things too. And then the last question was, are you ever going to do another shirtless podcast? And the answer to that is no. At least not right now. The one shirtless podcast that I did was because it was like 150 degrees that summer, and I can't do the podcast with the air conditioning on because the noise. So I had to turn the air conditioning off, and I was like already just sweltering in here in my apartment, and I was like, I need to take my shirt off so that I can at least breathe. That was really the reason for that. And then also to tease you guys. But right now, this past year, I have fallen terribly out of shape. I've put on weight, and none of y'all want to see me with my shirt off right now. But if I can get myself back in shape, maybe next year, in the spring or summer, we'll see, maybe. I can promise you tank tops at least. But I have always made the joke, I've occasionally made the joke that I could be doing this podcast bottomless and you would never know. So as a special treat for my 300th episode, I'm doing this podcast bottomless. For real. And I'm gonna prove it. I'm not just teasing you. Look. I wore my Spider-Man underwear. See? Yeah. So, thank you very much for watching, and keep watching because I'm going to keep doing this until my views on YouTube dip to, like, you know, 3 or 4, in which case then I'll say, well, nobody's watching, never mind. And who knows, maybe I'll go to Geeks Out and this will get more views because it'll have a bigger audience instead of just YouTube subscribers. Come back next week, and I will talk about the games I'm playing and my opinions on the industry and what's happening and all that sort of regular stuff. Thanks a lot, everybody, and I will see you back here next time. Bye!